So today is February the 21st, and we're actually going to do the last section. If you guys would, get out a piece of paper and a pencil. Kind of silly, but I'm going to just do some short notes here. And then this will kind of create a cheat sheet for all the different ways we can do these problems. Okay, so starting out, this is kind of new, like what we're getting ready to do on the first two sections. Okay, the first section is, I'm going to change a percent, and my little arrow just means 2A, like to a decimal. Okay, now, I'm going to start with the one I know, and it's kind of like the one I always fall back to, which is 50%. Now, when changing it to a decimal, okay, all I do is, first off, kind of start with thinking about where is the decimal in 50%. Well, officially, it's kind of like $1. It's right here. Now, the next step is to go from percent to decimal. It's officially divide by 100. But we don't normally talk that way. I'm going to just be honest. You bounce it twice to the left. So, it is 0.50. That is the decimal. You could put 0.5. It's the same thing. Okay, yes. So let's say you have 2%. Well, if I bounce it twice to the left, it is now 0.02. Now remember, as you bounce it twice to the left, there's an empty hole there now. You got to fill in that empty hole with a 0. Okay? Even if it's a weird one like this, 3.8%. If I bounce it twice to the left, it is now there's a hole here, 0.038. It's always twice to change it to a decimal. Okay. So when you see directions, percent to decimal, like that is what you're going to do. And I guess you could say, if you want to officially know why you do it, it's because you divide by 100 to get there. Okay? But we'll learn the trick eventually that, it's really just bouncing it twice to the left. Okay, the next section. You good on that one? It's so easy, like today's just bouncing it to the left or the right. Okay, go into the next section. We are now going to change a decimal, and we're going to change it to a percent. Yes, and we did do this yesterday, just to kind of refresh what to do though, okay? I'm going to start out by thinking about my 50 cents again. 50 cents looks like that. 50%, I know, is written like this. So which way do I move the decimal?
Right.
To the right twice.
So pretty much when decimal to percent, it would be to the right, but when the other one, it would be to the left.
Right. So to go from decimal to percent, it is twice to the right. So, let's say you have 0.4. Okay, now make sure you bounce it twice. 40%. Okay, another one. Here's a weird one. Let's say you have just the number 54, like a whole number. We got to know that 54, the whole number, the decimal's where? Where would it be for $54? Right, it'd be right there. So if you bounce it twice to the right, right. kind of weird. When I see things this big, like numbers, percentages that big, I'll be honest, the only thing I can really think of in my head that it works is like if you have a photo, like if you print a picture off at Walmart and it's a little bitty photo, but you wanted to make that picture as large as like a movie screen, like the theater, like they're blowing that thing up thousands of percentages to make it larger. So that's a good way to kind of think about it. It's always twice. Always twice. Okay, so I'm actually going to just leave you with those three because that's the short and sweet version. Like I said, I'm trying to make it short and sweet. Listen. Breathe, people. Here we go. The next part, because I'm giving you like a cheat sheet on all sections. Okay, the next section is percent to fraction. Percent to fraction. Okay, now, percent. I'm thinking 50%. Okay, but I know in my head you've got, and this is what you've got to memorize, is that when they say fraction and the word percent, it means out of 100. So 50% means 50 over 100. Then we got to simplify. And it would be 1/2. You'd simplify by 50. 50 divided by 50 is 1. Not 5. 50 into 100 is 2. That would be your final answer. Okay?
So is that ABC is just...
Well, you can do ABC. You can do 50, ABC 100.
Could you still do 5?
You could do 5, but you would have to do it like 2 more times. You'd have to do another 5 and a 2, I think. Yeah. Let's say you have 2.8%. Okay, so I'm looking. To get over here, we're going to put it over 100. Now, this is an odd one. I kind of wish you'd look. If it's 2.8 over 100, can't do it. So, and even in the calculator, you can't do it. So you got to remember, you're moving that decimal once to the right to make a new whole number, to make it 28. But if you bounce it once to the right on the top, you got to do once to the right on the bottom. Now you can ABC button it. What is it? 7 over 250, yes. Okay. Making sure you put it in simplest form.
When you use the calculator, does it go to the simplest form?
Most of the time. But yesterday when we went to 10,000 as a bottom number, it gave us a decimal. But yes, if it's what you're doing when you hit that ABC button between these numbers is putting it in simplest form. Okay? We good so far? Okay. The next section, because we've kind of already done these sections this week and last week. Okay. The next section is going from a fraction to a percent. Okay, fraction to percent. Now, you cannot jump straight from a fraction to a percent. To be honest, we're going to have to divide first and then bounce the decimal. So, if you have a fraction like 2/25, that's the fraction. Then that means in my calculator I'm doing 2 divided by 25. We talked about adding the decimal and the 0. Some of y'all aren't taking notes, and then you're going to be wishing you did in a little bit. Okay, 0.08 is what I got. Now, that is the decimal. To get the percent, I've got to bounce it twice to the right. So, it ends up being 8%. Okay, if there's one that has a whole number in front that is a mixed number, like 2 and 6/18. Okay, I'm honestly going to start out with just doing the top. 6 divided by 18. Okay, and it is. It's 0.33333. Now, I'm going to write a few threes just because that way when I move my decimal around, I'll hopefully write it right. Now, the other weird part, bring that 2 over in front of that number. Okay, now I'm going to bounce it twice to the right, making it 233.3. Now that 3 goes on forever, so let's make it a repeater. And a percent sign. Yes, it's a lot of steps. Okay? And that's why I'm doing kind of like one of each section or 2 of each section on the page.
I thought we had to do that repeating.
That, I put the little repeater bar on that 3.
I thought Mom did it.
Okay, the reason, and I'm not sure why they don't, but they just put it on whatever's to the right of the decimal. I wouldn't exactly take off if you did the other 3s, but make sure you don't put it on that 2. Okay, so that is fraction to percent. Now, if you've got room, just keep writing. What I'm going to do is go to a clean piece of paper. I'm out of room. Okay, well, you've learned like 6 different things. They're all the same thing, but it's 6 different ways. Okay, so the last 2, okay, this one is fraction to decimal. Okay, give me a second. There we go. Fraction to decimal. And I mean, we've honestly already done this today, like in this video. Because if I give you a fraction like 14/25, to get the decimal, we're going to divide. Yeah, we're going to divide. We're going to divide 14 by 25. Thank goodness for the handy-dandy calculator. 0.56. Can't really, I'm trying to fit it up there. There's no whole number, so my decimal is 0.56. Okay. If there's one with a whole number, just to give you every example possible. Okay. It still means 23 divided by 100. Which is 0.23. Now, be careful. You got to bring that 7 over. Then I kind of, like, every time I get to this point, I go, okay, they want a decimal. Here's a decimal. I must have the final answer. And then something like that. Okay. And then the last one was back last Monday. I won't lie, it's been a while. Or this Monday, I guess. It is decimal to fraction. And we know fraction has got to be simplified. Okay. Okay. So, let's see. Something like 2.75. Okay, so instead of reading it 2.75, we really need to read it as 2 and 75 over 100, because that 5 is in the hundredths column. Okay, then it simplifies by bigger.
3/4.
What number?
25.
25s, yes, by quarters to make it 3/4. Simplest form, final answer. I'm giving you one of the repeaters so you don't, what I'm going to call flip out when you get there. 5.63 repeating. Okay, so we keep that front number for 5. 63 goes on top, but on bottom, because there's 2 digits repeating, it goes over 99. Yes, it can. Check it. 63, ABC, 99. 7/11. Guys, that should scream at you your threes tables. Even if you don't know how many threes are in it, we should be seeing the threes tables. Okay, now what you're going to do is use those notes. In fact, some of them are right off the worksheet. And you are going to complete this worksheet. Each class has been a little different, meaning some of the groups got the whole thing finished. It's really not that long because half the sections are just bouncing to the left or bouncing to the right. And then I had one group who we didn't get through the whole thing, so I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Okay? We are going to grade it on Monday. But listen, you have the whole class period. Hopefully you don't need the weekend. That's not my goal. My goal is to get it done now. Okay? So, finish it now. Thank you.